Hello world. So it's Dave. Here we are again. And the topic of this particular video is going to be class introduction. You've gotten over to Japan. You've been assigned to your school. And now the time has come for your first public appearance in the classroom and for you to develop a good starting relationship. And I want to offer up as much advice as I can that can make this a good experience, an experience that really starts to get you bonding with the kids in the class, and something that you enjoy yourself. So a few suggestions. The first thing that I can talk about is that you got time, and it's going to vary from school to school. And when I say time, I mean how much time is that intro going to take? At one school I went to, they wanted me to take a full 60 minutes. In the other school I went to, they wanted me to take 10 minutes. I would say just opt for safety's purpose to not be unprepared, opt to prepare yourself for a 50-minute session, basically. So if they do want you to cut it down, whatever. You get to relax that day, and if not, then you get to enjoy the full 60 minutes of 60 minutes. That's better. Full 60 minutes of the experience, and you're ready for it. So a couple of things to start. Money. Money is a great thing to bring to the class as a point of interest for the students. I didn't even intend to do this. It was just lucky that I had it on me. And if you bring in money, you've got something for the kids to fool around with for the first couple of minutes. So even as you're setting up, you just hand them a few bucks. I mean, Canadian money's ridiculous. We got so many animals on it. We got loons on there. I bet you don't even know what a loon is, some of you. We got bears on our money, so I'm set up. Like, our money was very fascinating for these kids. That's just to get them going, something that you can drop off immediately. Now, following this, as you're preparing, I would suggest having something between 6 and 10 pictures, which you've blown up to 8 by 10 size, and you can then laminate. And you want these pictures to be things that you are passionately interested in and have done in the past. And this can be, well, of course, first you might have one that is your country's flag. That's very, very useful to go alongside introducing your name when you start, the country that you are from. But then all the other ones, major points of interest for you. So you've got those 10 laminates, you're handing out the money to the class, and you've started to speak regarding these laminates that you brought in. Now, what I would suggest for the way that you introduce them is to link them with your talking. This is to say, don't stand up there and say, I enjoy skiing. I have gone to Mount Washington. I have skied for 7 years. You want to try and associate everything that you're about to talk about with that image. So even if they don't know the vocabulary for what you're going to discuss, that you demonstrate it. So even if I don't know a language, if somebody's speaking Japanese in front of me and they start saying stuff as they put this onto the board, I know that kind of the vocabulary following it is going to have to do with that thing that they put up there. So really, really useful. Don't tell them, demonstrate to them what it is that you want them to understand. The flag is very clear. When you put up your flag, you say, I am from, and there's your flag on the wall. So they know, oh, he's talking about, he's an American, he's a Canadian, he's from the UK, wherever it is. Now, the next step, besides demonstrating, letting them know by your talking and coordinating that with actually putting it, the laminate up on the board, is interaction. You don't want to stand up in the class for 50 minutes and try and just talk about each laminate that you put up onto the board. Don't do this. It won't work. And it would just, if you only spoke for 50 minutes, time is going to creep. That's going to feel like a really long time. And then at that point, I dare you to try and come up with enough basic vocabulary that can be understood by them. I should have already mentioned that they're learning English. That's not to say that your introduction, they're going to understand a great deal of what you're saying. And so you want to be short, concise, to the point, and use basic language as much as possible. And it pretty much rules out then just talking in front of the class. So you want to be interactive. And the way that you can do this is, say you're a skateboarder, and you got you doing a cool trick on your board, whatever that might be. I don't skateboard, so I don't know. So what you can do is get a little bit of help from the Japanese teachers there and say, would you mind asking them, can they guess how many years it took me to do this trick? And there you go. They're interested because they're like, oh, it took you 5 years, and maybe you learn this trick really quickly. Who cares what the story is? It's going to end up being interesting because either it's like, wow, he took a long time to learn that trick, or it's going to be, wow, he learned that trick in no period of time. And you can imagine how this relates to any interest that you might put up there. If you put up a picture of an apple pie, you say, how many years did it take me to perfect the recipe? You get the point. I don't need to go on too long with that. Just make it relatable, interactive, and have some fun with it. You know, you can even, if you're feeling stuck on your actual laminates that you put up there, you're struggling with vocabulary, make it questions about yourself. You know, can you guess how tall I am? And they guess how many centimeters. If you're really tall, this is a benefit. I'm 188 centimeters, so everybody's losing their minds over that. Or maybe you're so small. Again, extremes are interesting to people, but interaction is most important. So you got your laminates, you're interacting with them, you're keeping your vocabulary simple, they're checking out the money that you're passing around. A final thing that I can suggest is that you create a worksheet for this introduction. And this worksheet was shown to me by another guy, real pro. He's been here for 7 years, something like that, speaks fluent Japanese. He's a pro. This worksheet is a simple true or false, and all these true or false questions will relate to the introduction that you've been giving during the course of the class. So if you put up a picture of your family and you've got 3 family members and you ask them, guess how many family members I have, and they guess 3, one of your true or false questions could be, how many family members do I have? Fairly simple vocabulary. They've already heard it from you, and so they're going to be able to answer that correctly. And ideally, you want them to get perfect on this. It's not a test to get them to fail, it's a test to get them to pass, because you know that if they're able to, without much assistance, guess correctly on this true and false, then that means you've succeeded. If they can get everything right, all the things that you try to present to them about yourself have been understood. So yeah, success. And it's a good way to confirm for you. You finish the class, you're wondering, how much did they actually get? And you'll be able to judge by this worksheet. So very, very useful. Now I just want to tell a little story about my experience, my intro, quite literally, because I've gotten, that's about it. You know, you're having fun, you're interacting. You don't need to know a lot, and it's amazing with all just those couple of questions in the back and forth, how quickly time will pass. And actually, okay, there's a final point before I tell my little story. See if they want to ask questions. If you see a mounting interest rising on a particular topic, welcome that, and you know, use that. If they find skateboarding really interesting, always be saying, is there any more questions? Did you want to know anything more about that? That'll open the door to further and further discussion, and you can naturally proceed along, and then just, you know, lay off the gas if you feel like you're running out of time for anything else, but use that to fill up the space. Okay, perfect. So now with that said, I want to tell my story. And my story was this. I think that if you're going to go to another country, sure, they can't really speak English that well yet, but you can use the universal language when you come over to another country. And I know a lot of people are thinking love, but you can't use the universal language of love with small school children. Don't do that. You get arrested. The universal language I'm referring to is music. Music, it doesn't matter where you're from, what you're doing. If you play a minor chord, people are going to know what that is. It's a feeling you emote from the sound, and everybody understands that regardless of culture. We all make music a little differently, but we can understand the meaning behind it. And so I thought I would use this to my advantage. And I brought my electric guitar over, which is a Gibson SG Platinum Series. Just gorgeous. I love it. And I brought it to one of my schools, the school where I had more time. and I had said to a teacher, "Do you mind if I play?" And they not only condoned it, they said, "I actually have an amp. Would you like to use it?" Because I didn't bring an amp. I thought I was just going to pluck away on it. And then this gave me the idea that maybe I can work something with the kids into this. So one of the questions I asked them once I'd finished my laminate sheets was, "Do you like music?" Because then I've got the guitar in the room along with the amp that's been given to me. And most kids, especially younger kids, will just jump up and down. "Yeah, I love music. It's great." When you get to the older grades, they might be too cool, and so they'll be quiet, or, even cooler, they'll say no. Just, allow them to do this. It's a part of their passage through life, getting older. But what I did is I said, "Okay, you like music. That's fantastic." And I said, "Do you like DJs? What kind?" And I was actually surprised at this point because less actually said that they like DJs than they like music. But I just, I kept steamrolling ahead. They said, "Okay," there was enough interest. It was so-so. And I said, "Well, if you want to be a DJ in Canada, there are only 2 words that you need to know." And look at this, I'm teaching them vocab already. So the first word that I teach them is boots. And I put it up on the board and I said, repeat after me, boots. And they got that very quickly, and so I started going boots and boots and boots, just trying to beatbox a little bit. And they see them, "Oh my God, what is this crazy white guy doing?" And so they're starting to enjoy it. They're starting to laugh at me in a good way. And then I said, "The only other word that you need to know is cats. Boots and cats and boots and cats." And so I immediately started to get one half of I got Team Boots and I got Team Cats. And then I got them to start chanting back and forth. Boots and cats and boots. And they're laughing. Again, ridiculous. What is Whitey doing? They're really enjoying it. And so I got to fulfill a dream, and that was to come over and have Japanese kids provide the beatboxing for me to solo on. And so they would beatbox, and I would solo, and you should have seen their little eyes light up. It was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. And I got them involved with the music. They're hitting their feet on the floor. They're passionate. And I feel like because of that, I definitely left a pretty strong impression. And that's the thing too, is that sure, some of the kids are laughing and they think it's ridiculous, but they're enjoying themselves. I didn't need to have some classes were better at the beatboxing, some were more involved than others, but it's memorable and fun. And that's the impression that you want to leave with them. You don't want cold, sterile academia being the sense of who you are when you go in. You want to have fun, and that's going to allow for deeper, more satisfying interaction in the class at a later time. So that's my story. I thought it was pretty fun. I then played a little bit of Rage Against the Machine and got them to repeat after me, "Rage Against the Machine," which is pretty funny because you got these ultra-disciplined Japanese kids chanting "Rage Against the Machine." Good times. So that's the end of this video. That's, I hope, a decent self-introduction for this class that you would have. And I can't think of everything, so if you have questions, if you have suggestions, either send me an email or write some comments down below on what you would say to improve it, change it, whatever. I welcome it all. Beyond that, I like to give a Japanese word or phrase and a song. That's always at the end of my videos. I can't forget the song. So the song that we're going to go with is going to be really poppy. Some people haven't heard of this. This is my theme recently. It's like pop songs. Maybe you haven't heard. It's going to be Lana Del Rey, "Born to Die." And don't say she can't sing. She can sing. She just gets a little bit nervous. That's all. And we all get a little nervous sometimes. I think we should be open-minded to that. So it's going to be Lana Del Rey, "Born to Die." That's going to be in the links down below. My email is going to be in the links. And then finally, the little bit of Japanese I like to do is going to be a phrase that is useful when you're just starting with the language, and you can kind of act as though you understand what's going on when you maybe don't so much. And that is, "so desu ka," and said with a little feeling behind it, "so desu ka." And this means, I see. And so very useful for me when people are explaining things sometimes, and I just don't quite get it. I kind of get it, and I can say, "so desu ka," and seem very knowing of what's occurring when it's so-so. That'll all be down below. As I like to say, thanks for tripping with Dave. If you enjoy, please subscribe. And until we meet again next time, world, ciao for now.